Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing great. This is a story about what if Luffy had Katakuri's powers. So I hope you enjoy. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. Check out the author in the description, but anyways, let's start. The beginning of a new journey. Garp wasn't sure what should expect when he heard Luffy crying and Ace shouting the whole way to Doden's house. Yeah, he knew the boys could be loud. But he never heard Luffy crying like that, and Ace's voice sounded angry and tired. He also noted sadness. What could happen to his boys to make them like that? Normally they could even laugh off his training methods. He clenched his fists and fastened his pace. Whoever dared to hurt his boys like this was going to meet his fists. He cared for his boys, even if he didn't show it very often. When he arrived at Doden's house, the Vice Admiral noticed that Ace was tied up to a tree while Luffy's crying came out of the house. The black-haired boy fought with the ropes and shouted that someone should free him and he would show this bastard. Ace, what's wrong? Garp looked concerned for his adopted grandson. Ace finally noticed Garp and was shocked first. The boy looked at him. He didn't move. He didn't even seem to like to answer. But then Ace opened his mouth. His words were quiet, but Garp did understand him. Why would you care, stupid Gigi? He sighed and freed Ace from the rope. Garp put one hand on the boy's shoulder before he led him into the house. He looked around for his biological grandson. He found the young boy in one corner of the room. Luffy looked smaller than usual. Sabo, he sobbed. Garp turned his head to look for his blonde adopted grandson. But he couldn't see the top-hatted boy. He had a bad feeling about the absences of the boy. Daden, Garp shouted and made Luffy flinched. Out of the corner of his eyes, he could see that Ace was conflicted how to deal with the situation. Garp sighed and pushed the boy softly to his younger brother. Ace looked up a bit unsure what exactly he wanted. But then the older black-haired one went to his little brother and sat down next to him. Garp let a soft smile ghost over his face before he turned to Daden, who entered the room. She looked grumpy like always, but her face turned into a shocked expression as she noticed the Vice Admiral. Garp-san, what is going on here, Daden? I found Ace tied to a tree, Luffy crying and Sabo missing. Silence filled the room. Garp didn't like it, because it reminded him of the death reports at work. He feared the answer. But this was most likely the answer that Sabo died. His ship was shot by this world bastard, Daden said and clenched her fists in anger. Garp was shocked. He had expected a lot of ways how Sabo could have died since he started to suspect it, but not this one. He gritted his teeth and looked at Ace and Luffy. The younger one was now asleep in the arms of his older brother. Ace still looked unsure, but when he noticed Garp's glance he tightened the hug as to protect his little brother. Garp didn't like to think about their pain, but he could imagine it and he was in pain just thinking about it. It made him also questioned if they were still safe. He had sworn himself to protect them by hiding them and training them. Perhaps it was wrong to hide them. I take Ace and Luffy with me. What? Why? Garp-san, we won't become Marines, stupid Gigi. The fire in Ace's eyes reminded Garp of Gol D. Roger. But he didn't say anything about that. It was better not to mention the boy's father. Not when he was already angry. I'm not taking you two with me to make you Marines. You are too young for that. I'm taking you with me because it could help you with your grief. I'm not telling you to forget about Sabo, but seeing a different, new surrounding might help you get over it. Ace just stared at him. He could see that the boy didn't know what to think of that. It would probably take some time when they were on the ship to get them halfway back to their normal selves. But if it helped them, Garp would be ready to do anything. You can't just come here and demand that they come with you. You are away most of the time. How do you expect the brats to trust you? Daden shouted. She seemed angry. Garp could understand till a certain point. But she didn't help them deal with the death of their brother. Being tied to a tree or left alone in a corner didn't help one bit. But he didn't have the time to discuss this with her. Pack their things, Daden. His voice was more a growl. He didn't want to be angry, but if he had to be a bit harsher towards Daden to make her work, he would do it. She shouldn't question his dominance. My boys want to go out to the sea someday. So the vacation from Dawn Island will not only perhaps help them learn to deal with their grief, but also I can prepare them what is happening there on the seas. At the moment I don't care if they become pirates or Marines. I just want them to be prepared so that they are safe when they start their own journey. So they come with me. Dayton looked at him, her brown eyes still full of anger. But it seemed less. She didn't question his authority any longer. She sighed. Fine, I pack their things. But don't think to leave without letting the brats say goodbye to Makino. Garp nodded and Dayton climbed the ladder to the boys' room to pack their things. The Vice Admiral sighed and turned his head to Ace. He went on his knees. I know that you probably hate me for this decision. But I feel that this could help you and I swear I won't try to turn you into Marines. But you have to promise me not shout out loud that you want to become pirates. After all, you will stay on a Marine ship. Especially Luffy. Can I trust you to keep him safe? I think he needs his big brother most at the moment and you need him, too. The fire in Ace's eyes was still there. But it wasn't as challenging as in the beginning. The boy looked down at his younger brother and weighed his head from side to side. Well, will it help us to get stronger? I'm sure of that, Ace. 10 years later, Garp sighed as he looked at the ship with which his grandsons would start their adventure. They grew so much in the last 10 years and got stronger that he somehow wished he could turn back time and had done this earlier. Maybe then Sabo would be still alive and on the ship with Ace, Luffy, Law and Beppo. Someone sniffed next to him. It is so sad to watch them go. I remember as it was yesterday that you placed them under my care and even when they got Beppo on board, Rocinante whipped a tear away but forced himself to smile. We hold them off for 3 years. I don't think it could have worked any longer. Still, I am happy that they promised to stay adventurers at the start and only hoist the flag when they enter the new world if they still want to, Garp said. I wouldn't be so sure. If I know my brats, they hoist the flag earlier than you think, Dayton said. The woman fought with her tears. Good luck on your journey, Makino shouted as the sail was set. Remember to brush your teeth. Don't eat anything that is rotten. Take care of yourself. Don't start fights. I hope you meet many new friends and don't forget to smile, Rocinante shouted after the ship. A bright smile on his face, but tears in his eyes. You sound like a mother, Kora-san. That was Law, trying to be not touched by Rocinante's mother nature towards him. We are old enough to know this without being reminded. And that was Ace who secretly was happy about the words. Because they meant that someone cares about him. I'll miss you, Kora-san. Thank you for everything. And everyone else, too. Ji-chan, greet Uncle Dice and Granduncle Goat from me. Typical Luffy. No problem admitting what is on his mind. He will seriously miss the little troublemaker on board. It was fun to see new recruits dealing with him. In general how the new members of his ship dealt with his grandsons and grandnephew. Straightforward, Beppo. Aye, Captain. Be safe, boys. The stowaway Luffy grinned brightly as he stood on the figurehead of their ship. The wind felt nice on his skin. It was a good day to set finally sail for an adventure. He was only a little bit sad that there wasn't a Jolly Roger flying over their heads, yet. Stupid promise. But there had to be a very good reason because Ace and Law wouldn't have agreed. So he would follow the promise as best as he could. After all, a promise was a promise and it shouldn't be broken this easily. Luffy felt his stomach rumble and jumped from the figure. Ace, Turao, I'm hungry, he shouted and ran into the kitchen, where his older brother and older step-brother were. You have eaten until the last minute before we got on board and we are only sailing for around 10 minutes. I know you have a fast metabolism but how can you be hungry again, Law said with a lifted eyebrow. To be true, I am kinda hungry, too, Ace told them with a cheeky grin. Beppo is probably hungry, too, Luffy added and topped his attack by using his ultimate one against the older two, his puppy look. What do you want me to do? I am a doctor, well more a surgeon, not a cook, Law said and crossed his arms. So his step-brother was being a meanie again. Luffy started to pout. Yeah, but you are the only one of us who is able to cook something without getting the kitchen on fire, Ace reminded Law. Eat some bread. Then I don't have to deal with that disgusting thing. Also, you don't need to cook it, the surgeon argued. Okay, Law needed more. Luffy deepened his pout a little bit and gave his best puppy look to his step-brother. But Turao's cooking tastes much better, he said with a whiny voice. The surgeon stared at him. He pushed his lower lip a bit more forward, deepening the pout more. Hoping this was the way to succeed. Come on, Law. Can your Omega Mother instincts really say no to this adorable face? Ace asked and cuddled him. This made it quite hard for Luffy to remain his expression. Because getting cuddled by his big brother made him very happy and he wanted to smile to show it. Law facepalmed before a sigh was heard from him. Fine. But get out. Help, Beppo, until I am done. With a cheer, Luffy jumped out of Ace's arms and hugged Law. He felt the other one tensed lightly. It made the boy smile more. It meant that Law was more accepting of physical contact. Thank you, Turao, Luffy cheered and ran out to Beppo. The polar bear mink studied the surrounding with a telescope. Ship sighted, Beppo said, as Luffy stood next to him. This sentence alone made the boy excited. Let me look, he said, jumping lightly up and down. Luffy looked forward to meeting new people and making new friends. It was an adventure. Ace then appeared next to them and made him stop jumping around. That looks like a pirate ship, his brother said, as they were able to see the outline of the other ship. A black flag flying on the high masts. It looks like a duck. Do you think we can grill it and then it tastes like one? Luffy asked innocently before he dodged a hit from his brother. Beppo, does the flag belongs to someone important? No, I haven't seen it in the papers, yet. The other crew seemed to notice them because the duck ship was now sailing their way. Looks like they want to party with us, Luffy suggested, but a cannonball hit the water in front of them. The water flew in the air and then they were soaked. It isn't bathing time, yet, Luffy grumbled. Ace didn't look happier. Especially when Beppo shook himself to get the water out of his fur. Beppo, his older brother growled. I'm sorry. Leave Beppo alone, it is some natural thing, Luffy pouted. He could hear Ace grumbling while the older one picked up 2 pipes. Luffy, Beppo, get ready to fight, his brother said and threw 1 pipe at him. The gray eyes were fixed on the duck ship. Luffy grinned while he caught his pipe. A fight sounded better than party. Well, only if there was meat after the fight. Out of the corner of his eyes, the black-haired boy noticed that Beppo was preparing himself for the fight, too. The polar bear jumped into the air and kicked a cannonball into the water to protect their ship. Don't hurt Shippy, you stupid duck, Luffy said towards the other crew. We haven't decided on a name, yet. And we won't call it Shippy, Ace grumbled. The straw-hatted boy would have replayed to his older brother, but the others started to attack at that point. Their opponents seemed to be only males and not at their level. Pity, Luffy thought this could have been a better training. Don't you dare to slack off, a female voice suddenly threatened the men. Luffy kicked a man away before he looked around confused. There was no woman, except for a fat person with an iron mace. This person was wearing female clothes. Nay, Ace, is that a man wearing female clothes like the one we saw on that Heart Island? Luffy asked while blocking a slash with his pipe. Luffy, that's an insult to all people who live there. This is just an ugly woman, Ace answered. The enemies seemed shocked and the man-lady looked angry. How dare you to insult my beauty, she asked. Her voice sounded a bit deeper than Dotton's when Luffy thought about it. So it could have been a man, too. That was a simple opinion on your look. If you can't take critics, maybe you should lock yourself in a room, Law said as he came out of their kitchen. The surgeon carried his sword, so he seemed ready for a fight, too. Men, show them what happened when people insult me, the man-lady shouted and glared angrily at her men. A matching grin appeared on Ace's and Luffy's face. This promised to be interesting, even if the men weren't strong. Luffy dodged a slice and kicked the man's leg away. He noticed that someone tried to hit him from behind, but he didn't have to worry about it. Not attacks from behind, Beppo said and kicked the man away. The bear can talk, only shocked faces were seen. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize to idiots, Ace said and swung his pipe against some shocked men to throw them off their ship. Don't just call Beppo a bear. He has a name and is cooler than you, Luffy said while headbutting an enemy. Stop talking and hurry. The food will be ready soon and don't use it, Law said clashing with one of the enemy's swordsmen. Food, Luffy cheered with a grin and started to jump around the enemies like a monkey making them stumble over his pipe and hit themselves. Oi, Luffy, leave some for me, too, Ace said kicking a man against the duck ship. Idiots, everything has to be done by myself, the man-lady mumbled and lifted her iron mace. But it never touched their ship or Ace or Beppo or Luffy. It made contact with the woman's head, knocking her out. The iron mace felt left and right from her on the ground. Captain Olivia. The crew of the man-lady seemed shocked that she was defeated that quickly. Also, they didn't seem to understand how she was defeated. Take your captain and disappear, before we decide to sink your ship, Law said with a dark glare towards the man. Luffy laughed when they withdrew. Oi, leave your proviant on our ship, Luffy said with a bright grin and laughed over the faces they made. We are lucky that there weren't any other witnesses to this fight, Law said. His little step-brother or little cousin, if following the family titles their grandfathers set up, tilted his head and looked confused at him while chewing on the meat. Law sighed. Sometimes he wondered how the innocent and simple-heartedness of Luffy was still intact, even if the surgeon knew the boy could be quite the devil. But secretly Law would protect this sweet innocent part of the boy. You worry too much, Law. The Marine wouldn't give us bounties for beating up some low-life pirates. I bet none of them had a bounty, Ace said and stuffed his mouth with meat. We are an unknown crew of 4 people being able to beat up a whole pirate crew including the captain with ease. That means if there were Marine witnesses they would keep an eye on us or at least remember us, which will lead to some questions I would like to avoid. Because that would lower our chances to leave the East Blue without breaking the promise, Law explained with a sigh. But one look told him that the 2 others didn't seem to care. So he had to use it as a warning. And I don't think you like to get a taste of the fist of love. Both, Ace and Luffy, stopped in their movements. Then they shivered before they looked simultaneously behind them. Like Ace and Luffy expected to find Monkey D. Garp behind them with a lifted fist. A rare smile ghosted over Law's face. It was fun to scare his little step-brother's cousins a bit. Beppo blinked a bit towards him but didn't say anything, luckily. Don't joke about shitty grandpa. Also, as long as we don't hoist a black flag everything will be fine, Ace said grumpily. I want to hoist it finally. Shippy would look better with one, Luffy chirped. Stop calling our ship Shippy. It doesn't sound good. When we finally hoist the color, I want our ship to have a cool name, Ace said and tried to hit Luffy. No fight at the table. When there is food on the table, Law slammed his hand on the table. But, Turao, I want to be a pirate finally, and Ace is being a meanie, Luffy pouted and pointed at the other one. You are pirates, a scared voice screeched in a corner. Ruining the atmosphere and also stopping the fight. They turned their heads to look at a small, slightly chubby boy with pink hair. He wore blue round frame glasses and looked a bit timid. When did the boy get on board? Who are you? Luffy asked the obvious question. Great, now we have a stowaway, Ace grumbled. This made the boy shriek and he shrunk. Law had to concentrate to hear the next words. I'm Kobe. I was forced to work on Alvida's ship and, well, I thought I could get away from her finally. So the boy had slipped on their ship during the fight and now he found out that they intended to be pirates. This seemed to make Kobe nervous and even timider when they confronted him. He looked like a lost puppy. Law suppressed a groan. Damn, he hated this weird mother complex instincts. Why did he present as an Omega like Korra-san? Korra-san dealt way better with that if he had this, too, with them. Well, form the farewell, Law guessed Korra-san had them. But that was beside the point. This damn instinct told him now not to hurt this chubby boy, to make him talk or to stop him from mumbling. He seriously had to get some better suppressant. Maybe the instincts would be shut down a bit, too. He sighed silently. For now, he couldn't ignore them. We are not going to hurt you as long as you don't give us a reason, Law said with a neutral voice. Maybe the timid boy would be calmer after that. You worked for Alvida. Who is that? Luffy asked and tilted his head towards Ace. The man-lady, I guess, the older one said. Luffy looked confused. Did he forget how the man-lady looked like? If you want to leave, then why didn't you just tell her and leave? Law noticed how Ace had to suppress a laugh. But this boy, Kobe, looked shocked. Well, Luffy's logic was sometimes strange but mostly simple. It's not easy. She would have killed me, so when I got on board I looked for treasures so she would be in a better mood, ow. Luffy. His baby cousin, step-brother had hit the boy. What? He just accepted his fate without a fight and whines about it, Luffy said and crossed his arms. Law massaged his temple. Luffy's reasons sounded right for someone like them who were able to fight. But for this chubby, timid boy the reasons were probably stupid or even dangerous. Luffy, not everyone is so reckless like you, and also not everyone is able to fight for themselves. So you shouldn't compare Kobe with us, and especially not with you. Someone who would die for his dream, Law said, and made the black-haired boy sat down next to him again. Kobe looked even more shocked at Luffy now. What are we going to do with that stowaway? Ace asked. This led to Kobe being in a panic again. Don't kill me. I swear, I will do everything. Just don't hurt me, the boy rambled. Law closed his hand around the kitchen knife. Even with this stupid Omega Mother instinct, this was getting annoying. Law, no cutting people open at the moment, Ace reminded him with an amused grin. This made Kobe shriek again. No killing, Tarao, Luffy said and pouted. He rolled his eyes. So his baby cousin, step-brother was allowed to hit the boy, but he wasn't allowed to cut him open to make him shut up. Fine, Law grumbled. We let him work until we reach the next port and then leave him there. The surgeon crossed his arms. This discussion was ended for him. Kobe was surprised about this crew. It contained a talking polar bear, which was kinda creepy, a boy who acted like the captain and but didn't seem in charge, a young man who was the older brother of the boy and seemed very protective of his little brother, and a doctor, no, a surgeon who seemed to be a little too happy to think about cutting people open and was in charge. He didn't know if it was good or bad that he came across them. They would drop him off at the next port. This sounded nice. But the deal was, he would work on their ship until they reached the next port. What was when they thought he did a good job, they would make him stay and work forever on their ship. We won't make you stay. We don't need someone on board who isn't able to defend himself when we reach the Grand Line. The voice of surgeon made him shriek. Kobe turned around with a scared look on his face. Grand Line. But this is called the Pirate's Grave. So, we are aiming for the New World. Then we can do what we want, the boy, Luffy, said with a bright grin. Kobe could just stare at him. How could the black-haired boy, who was only a year or two older, say something like this so easily with a grin on his face? You will mostly get killed before. The Grand Line is dangerous and, ow. Luffy had hit him again. I don't care if I die for my dream or for my family. But I will work to accomplish my dream and to be strong enough to protect my family, the straw-hatted boy said. Dream? Kobe asked unsurely as Luffy spoke with such a confidence that it made him feel small. When we reach the New World, we are allowed to hoist the color and then we will chase after the One Piece, so I become the Pirate King. The bright grin on Luffy's face didn't vanish and he said this like it was a fact. Like he would really become the Pirate King. But, are you going to say that my little brother is too stupid to realize the danger? Backquote, the older black-haired brother said and stepped closer. The voice made Kobe shiver. Well, it may be true that it is going to be dangerous. But Luffy has Law, Beppo and me to help him and to kick the stupid bastards out of his way, Ace added with a grin. Okay, these two brothers weren't alright. I hope we reach the New World quickly. I can't wait to show you Zo, the polar bear said. Kobe stopped his movements. The bear said something about reaching the New World. So this Zo would be there. Nay, Kobe, are you planning to grow roots there? Don't you have any life goals? Law asked and interrupted his thoughts. Kobe mumbled. How could he express his dream? He would never be able to reach it and also it wasn't a good option to say it in front of pirates, well future pirates. You have a dream, don't you? Luffy looked at him with curiosity in his brown eyes. I want to become a good marine to protect the innocent. Kobe clenched his fist to control his shaking body. There he had said. Now they are going to kill him because he intended to join the natural enemy of pirates. Do you just want to become a good marine or will you become a good marine? Luffy asked. This surprised him as none of the crew moved to attack him. I will become a good marine. For some reason, Kobe didn't know, but he felt more confident at that moment. He couldn't really explain it. Then let's do our best to reach our dream, Luffy said with a chuckle. Shock. He didn't know any other word to describe what he was feeling at this moment. Just because we intend to be pirates, doesn't mean we pick fights left and right and attack marines or those who desired to be one. There are 3 different reasons to pick a fight and at the moment you do not show us one of these reasons, Ace said. We are becoming too chatty with him. Maybe we should, Law started. The tone scared Kobe, but Luffy interrupted the surgeon. No, I like Kobe if he lost his crybaby attitude. Nay, Beppo, when do we reach the next island? This topic change made the pink-haired boy gap lightly. It won't be much longer. But we have to be careful. Shell's Town does have a marine base under the Marine Captain Morgan's command. The faces of Law and Ace became grim and Kobe wondered why. If they didn't attack Marines without a reason, then they shouldn't have any problems. At least as long as they didn't say anything about their intention to become pirates. So why would they be worried about a Marine captain? Kobe would be more worried about the other person that is rumored to be in Shell's Town. Not just black and white, Ace was a bit worried about leaving Luffy alone to explore the city. Well, the stowaway was with his baby brother. But he feared that it wouldn't be enough to stop Luffy doing something, well, Luffy-like. You know that I don't need you to come with me, Law said and interrupted his thoughts. Ace grumbled. Yeah sure, his cousin, step-brother seemed close to his heat. When this start Law would be very vulnerable, and since Ace didn't know when it started, he wouldn't let Law go alone somewhere unknown. It was risky. But neither could they force Luffy to come along with them to buy supplies and pick up some ingredients for medicines and other stuff. His baby brother would most likely get bored and then would start to run around and attract trouble. In lesser words, they would get nothing done if Luffy was with them. So Ace sent a silent prayer to the sky that the Kobe was scared enough of him to keep Luffy out of trouble. Well, the pink-haired boy did look pretty scared when he threatened him what he would do if he found a single scratch on his baby brother. So it could work. Why do we need that much stuff for suppressant? Ace asked curiously when he noticed that it was more than they usually bought. We are now traveling on our own. Meaning we need to be prepared for every new attention to the crew. Therefore we also need suppressants for alphas. Also, don't forget Luffy entered the phase only last year. So there are still 4 years left in which he can present, and I still hope he doesn't because I fear the effects of his devil fruit type, Law mumbled. 4 years. Doesn't that mean I also could still present? Ace asked. But the surgeon shook his head. No. You didn't show any sight during the years. So the chances are low that you will still turn out to be an alpha or an omega, Law explained. So it's best to recruit people who are at least 21. Because then we already know what we have to deal with the sudden presentation of their second gender as far as they have one, Ace suggested. This earned him a glare. What was wrong now with what he said? We can't use age as a factor for their recruitment. Because Luffy and you won't fit the criteria, yet. I say the best bet is to look for people who are able to fight and haven't reached their full potential, yet. Also, it would be nice to recruit some people who are able to swim, Law said when they left the city to search the near forest for the fresh stuff the surgeon needed. Will be pretty hard. I don't think there are many people in the East Blue who would be capable of traveling the Grand Line, Ace grumbled. That doesn't change the aspect that we need someone other than Beppo on the crew who is able to swim before we reach the Grand Line. And now focus on finding the plants I need. Luffy had decided to explore the town a bit and had also decided to accompany Kobe to the marine base. The pink-haired boy seemed a bit shaken after a talk with Ace. What did his big brother has said to the boy? Luffy wondered if he should ask. But then something more interesting crossed his mind. Nay, Kobe, this Zoro guy, you said who was rumored to be around here. Is he really that strong? The straw-hatted boy wondered. Don't say his name out loud, Luffy-san. You're scaring the people, Kobe mumbled. Luffy shrugged. Why should he be worried if the people are scared because of a name? The information about this Zoro, Kobe had given, was interesting. The other sounded strong and cool. Now if he could only meet this guy. I don't think it's because I mentioned this Zoro guy that the people are scared. They did look kinda worried before. Did Ace or Tarao say something about this booze guy who is stationed here? Luffy turned his head to look at Kobe. The pink-haired boy seemed confused. Booze guy. Yeah, his name was the same of the booze G-chan likes to give away to captains as a joke, Luffy said and tried to remember the name. Oh, you mean Captain Morgan. The people seemed to flinch. Luffy narrowed his eyes. This wasn't a good sign. It reminded of the town he had visited with this nice recruit lady. The people there had been very scared when they had seen the marine symbol on the shirt of his company. In the end, his grandpa had beaten up the corrupt marine, who made the townspeople pay for everything that went wrong, with the mentor of the nice recruit lady. So seeing the people now flinching because of the Marine's name made him feel uneasy. So without meeting this Marine captain, Luffy had already decided that he didn't like the man. Strange, why would the people be afraid of Captain Morgan? Kobe wondered when they walked towards the Marine base gate. It is not always just black and white, Luffy said, remembering Uncle Dice's statement about the world. Being close to the Marine base meant it was possible that he would meet one of these black sheep of the Marine. A sound made him turn his head to his right. There was a ladder leant against the wall and a little girl used it to climb over the wall. Luffy tilted his head. Why was she climbing over the wall like this instead of going through the gate? Luffy didn't think about it for long and started to climb the wall as well. After all, this could be interesting. The girl was on a field that looked like one of these where the Marine executed the bad guys who deserved it. What did the girl want there? A young child shouldn't be there. That was what Ji-chan had said. But there was another person on the field. Tied up. The hair seemed green and on the left side of the head, something blinked. Luffy-san, don't just disappear. Your brother is going to kill me if something. Kobe rambled as he appeared next to Luffy, but stopped. That is, Roronoa Zoro, Luffy-san, you have to save the girl. He will kill her, the pink-haired boy screeched. Luffy put his hand on Kobe's mouth to shut him up. His gut feeling told him that the girl was safe. At least at the moment. He watched her carefully. The girl had gotten close to the tied-up man and seemed to offer him something in her hand. Luffy narrowed his eyes to see what she has in her hands. It seemed to be food. Instinctively Luffy turned his head. 3 Marines, he guessed, entered the field. 2 were dressed like the normal Marines, but the third one, a blonde, wore a purple suit. He walked a bit at the front. Looked like he was important. But Luffy had a bad feeling about him. Oi, didn't someone tell you, death is sentenced to the some who is unallowed on the execution field and helped a sentenced worthless scum. Luffy frowned when he heard these words. On sentence and he already hated the man. This feeling only grew more when the blonde ordered to throw the little girl over the wall. He clenched his fists before he closed his eyes. Luffy took a deep breath and focused. He pushed himself from the wall and caught the girl in the air. The straw-hatted boy landed on his 2 feet and looked at the girl in his arms. Luffy-san, are you alright? Is the girl fine? Kobe asked and came close to them. Don't worry, I'm fine. The girl seemed shocked, Luffy said with a grin, but it disappeared when he looked at the wall. Take care of her, he ordered Kobe and climbed over the wall. The 3 Marines had disappeared. Good. Get lost, eyesore, was the greeting of the tied-up man when he landed on the execution field. Luffy blinked surprised but grinned. He looked to the Marine base before he got closer to the green-haired person. You are this Zoro guy, who is feared by many people? Luffy tilted his head during his question. If you really such a strong bad guy, why the humiliation stuff? None of your business. Makes me doubt that you are really that strong like they said. The other snorted. Believe what you want. If I was captured I would be free by now. Then I got more willpower for this situation than you have. Because I will survive. A grin ghosted over Luffy's lips. He liked this guy. He should tell Ace and Law about him. Well, then see ya. The boy wanted to make his way back but was stopped by Zoro. Can you lift this up for me? He looked at the ground to see what the other meant. A rice ball. So that was what the girl had brought to Zoro. Luffy suppressed a reaction and only fed the dirty food to the green-haired one. That Zoro also told him to thank the girl, made the straw-hatted boy grin. His decision to make Zoro join the crew became only stronger. But that had to wait. It didn't look like Zoro would appreciate it if he was going to be rescued and then the man wouldn't join him. So as hard as it was for him, Luffy decided to wait and return to Kobe and the girl. The pink-haired boy was in a panic when he landed next to him. The boy had started to imagine what Ace would do if something happened to Luffy. This made the black-haired boy laugh. Don't worry, Kobe. Ace hasn't tried to kill someone for ages. So he won't start with you, Luffy said and lifted up the girl who still seemed shocked, but mostly fine. So Zoro is tied up and is humiliated because he protected you? Kobe asked Rika, the girl from the execution field. She nodded sadly. So Luffy's feeling about Zoro was right. The man was a good guy. He seemed to be like a good addition to the crew if he could convince him to join. Also, Zoro had honor. Something that was rare for people. Luffy nodded to himself. "I'll go to," he started but then stopped himself when the sound of breaking dishes from the inside the restaurant could be heard. It didn't sound like an accident. The straw-hatted boy went inside quickly with Kobe hot at his heels. There was the blonde man who humiliated Zoro on daily basis even if he was weaker. The man who Luffy decided to hate for his arrogant, pathetic behavior. The straw-hatted boy clenched his fists. Luffy tried to control his anger. But when he didn't know what to call this man but man didn't fit excuse bragged about executing Zoro, he lost it. Luffy-san, the black-haired heard Kobe's warning, but it was too late. Luffy's fist had connected with bragging blonde's cheek. His opponent flew across the room and hit the wall. "You call yourself a Marine, but you have no honor. Don't you feel ashamed of yourself?" Luffy asked with shaking fists. He wanted to hit the man again. Beat him if he had to. Then Luffy felt Kobe's arms around his middle, trying to hold him back, so he couldn't hit the other anymore. "I'm telling my father," the blonde shrieked. "Fight your own battles." Luffy screamed after the excuse. Yeah, excuse sounded good as a name when the other fled. This one wasn't able to fight his own battle. That was it. He didn't care any longer to first check in with Ace and Law to get their opinion about Zoro. The green-haired man was going to join him and Luffy would make sure it happened that way. Only 1 week left. 1 week and he could go back to his life drifting from town to town to get stronger and trying to finally meet this one person, who he wanted to challenge. A grin ghosted over his face. By surviving this torture he would only grow stronger. "I have decided that you join my crew." Oh, the eyesore from earlier was back. "Don't just decide for other people. And didn't I tell you to get lost, eyesore?" Zoro frowned annoyed when the boy didn't even seem scared. "I told you, see ya, earlier. So you should have known that we would meet again." The black-haired one tilted his head. Zoro groaned and wanted to facepalm if he could. But he couldn't say anything against this logic. Also, come on. It will be fun to have an adventure on the Grand Line. Seriously. He was too old to play adventure on. Wait. What did this eyesore say? He wanted to go to the Grand Line. Zoro snorted. Just by the look, the other wouldn't survive it. "Nay, you are a swordsman, right? If I can get yours out of the Marine base, you'll join, okay." Was this kid really serious? "That's blackmail," Zoro shouted and watched confused how the boy first took the wrong way. "The base is the other way," the swordsman said with a sigh, closing his eyes. Why did he even correct the kid? Something disturbed the air in front of him. His eyes snapped open. But there was nothing in front of him. He turned his head left and right, but the boy wasn't in sight any longer. Zoro turned his head towards the Marine base. Did he really get into the base? He wondered out loud. His eyes wandered to the top of the base. Zoro widened his eyes in a slight shock. Parts of a statue, if he saw that right, were falling down and loud screams could be heard from the top. Even some shots. What was going on there? Had this black-haired boy been able to somehow get there in this short amount of time? His thoughts were interrupted when Zoro felt someone tugging on the ropes. It was a pink-haired boy. "Oi, go away," Zoro snapped at him. But the boy shook his head. "No. I can't. First, I can't because these are not the Marines I believe in. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Second, they plan to execute you." Luffy's got mad when he heard one bragging about it and punched one of them. "He is going to be in a lot of trouble I can't help him with." "But you can." Luffy. Was that the name of the black-haired boy who planned to blackmail him with his swords? "But I have a deal with them." Zoro stopped himself. He narrowed his eyes and studied the pink-haired boy. This boy didn't look like he lied. He looked more scared of the situation and that something happened to this Luffy boy. A bullet flew right past him. The pink-haired shrieked and cowered in fear. Trying to free a prisoner is sentenced with death. Execute them. Zoro turned his head to see multiple guns pointed towards him and the boy. It was an entire squad and behind them, Captain Morgan. It could only be the narcissistic captain himself as the Marines all looked too scared to defy the man. Now, was that really how he should die? Without ever having a chance to cross the blade with the world's best swordsman? He could feel the pink-haired boy tremble with fear close to his legs. Zoro frowned and stared at the Marines. If he had to die, they could at least shot him not from the side, but from the front. But, the Marines weren't able to shoot them. Sorry, that it took so long. But this excuse was too stupid to navigate me to his room to pick up your sword. But there were 3 and since I didn't know which one was yours I brought all 3 along. Thanks for watching the video and like the video for another part. Goodbye.